everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode. Thank you for joining me again. Today, I have two fantastic women that you are going to really enjoy listening to, and that is Ashley Lehr and Katie Plitt. Hi, Katie. Hi, Ashley.
Hi. Hello.
So I asked them to join us here today because they are the backbone of our company and handle so many things behind the scenes and keep all of us going and make all of us look good. And so they work hours and hours and hours and do things on their own time and after behind the scenes and all. And so I just wanted to speak with them a little bit because they have to juggle a lot. We have almost 1,700 members in our organization, and we have how many full-time employees? 80 something.
Probably about
80. I think it's over 80 now.
And
then
probably
like 36 in our department alone.
36 in our department. And then you pretty much are involved with every single person in the company and our members, like you.
Yep. So pretty close.
So, when you divide that between two people, that's a lot of interactions. And so you also have families and very young families. So I wanted to spend a little time, and maybe some of the people listening could get some inspiration from the both of you. And how the heck do you juggle it? So Ashley, How do you juggle it? How do you just in general work, home, being a spouse, being a mom, being the backbone of an organization? Like, talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I definitely, I'm finding it harder the older my son gets to juggle. So he just turned 4 in February, and now it's to the point where he's starting to realize that mommy works a lot. And it's kind of funny. My husband, he also works. We're both working out of the home, but he never mentions my husband's job, but he knows everybody at ATI, and he's like, well, Mr. Ron's important and Mr. Richard's important. And he already knows, which I think it's so funny that he knows the hierarchy already.
So he knows the org chart probably better than the people at ATI.
Yeah, he definitely does. But I definitely think that once I come home during dinner, we don't talk about work. And before bed, we don't talk about work. So I have designated times where I'm on my phone or I'm on my computer, and designated times when I won't look at it no matter what comes through. And I think that's pretty important.
And how about you, Katie?
So it's pretty much very similar. But my son he just turned 1. So he's now walking around and he grabs everything. So pulling out my computer while he's walking around is usually pretty exhausting. He likes cords, he likes the buttons. So that's really hard. So if I do check my email, it's after he goes to bed, and it just makes for a long day. One of the good things is that not only are Ashley and I coworkers and partners at work, but she is my sister-in-law. So we can have a day where I'll bring Caleb over and he'll play with Travis, and, the dads take that. And like during Super Conference, that's what me and Ashley did. We gave the dads the mommy duty, and me and Ashley sat at the dining room table and got some work done. And then we pause for lunch and we play with them. And we have a very good dynamic, and we're very lucky to have each other.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So you mentioned about the cords and all, and having raised 2 sons, one, and had them at my shop when I had the business. I had a nursery built in there, and then also with ATI. Paper, staplers, paper, whatever, folder you're working on is like, where's that folder I had a minute ago? And you do really have to look for everything. Oh, the phone's dead. Do I call IT, or wait, maybe my son yanked on the cord or whatever. Yep. And it's such a balance. And do you find, because I know my kids would kind of walk around, they'd grab the phone and start imitating me and, walking around and shaking their head and whatever. And it was not very flattering, their impression of me on the phone or the computer. Do your kids do that at all?
Yes. Travis does all the time. And as a matter of fact, he has his own little fake computer, so he'll set up right next to me. And if I ask him a question or, can you go feed the dog or can you do this for me? And he's like, 1 minute, Mr. Ron needs me. And he'll start fake typing and like, I can't do that right now. I'm like, you don't get to get out of cleaning because my boss needed something from you. I don't believe that.
That is hilarious. And really, when you think about it, I mean, how much they imitate us, right? And look at what. And so, people say all the time to be the model of the parent, you want, right? And you have to act in that behavior and be the person that you want them to be and all of that. And these little things really puts a physical piece to it that you can see, right? So something as simple as him saying, oh, wait, I can't get to that right now. Mr.
Right.
Ron needs me is hilarious. And what a great reminder of. So you mentioned something, Ashley, and Katie, you agreed to it. When you are busy or whatever, the kids seem to be like, okay, but, are not okay with it. But yet with your spouses, they can, it's like, okay, that they're doing that. What do you think that is? Because it seems like that mommy role, it's a very unfair balance. And sometimes, when my kids are small, I would be like, oh my God, please go bother your father. Like, go do something with him. How come you don't care that he's not whatever, like, go do something. What do you think is the reason for that?
I think, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that as the mom, you're the natural nurturing, the kisser of the boo-boos and the one that takes care of all of the things that go wrong. I'm not sure if every household runs that way, but most things, I'm just double checking that we have everything done, much like my job at ATI is, checking to make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and I'm, everything is moving the way that it should be. So I think that Travis definitely notices when, if I'm working from home or I'm working at the dinner table at bedtime, I think it's like, well, wait a minute, if you're doing that, well, I don't want daddy to take care of me. That's weird. Like, you're supposed to be the one tucking me in. So while he does enjoy, like, my husband, Eric, has different routines with him that he enjoys those things, but he's like, daddy's the fun one and he gets to rough me up and you're supposed to tuck me in at night. I don't understand what's happening.
Interesting, because there are very different roles, right? And people, different situations at homes and different parents, what parents look like. But there still seems to be that role of that one person being more nurturing versus, the other. Katie, are there certain things that you do that your husband doesn't do with your kid that it kind of sets up the same way as like going on at Ashley's house and a lot of houses?
Yeah, and Caleb's getting to that age where he'll come to us for different things because he's only one, so he's not incredibly vocal yet. But like in the morning is mommy time because my husband gets up very early to go to work, so it's mommy time in the morning. But because of that, we kind of balance it out. So Mike puts Caleb to bed at night and he tucks him in so that we kind of have a good balance of, our own alone time with him. But now that he's up and moving around more, when he falls down, the first thing he does is look for me because, my husband is oh, you're fine. Get up. And I'm like, come here, baby. I got you. You're okay. So he definitely is learning how to play sides though, because we're learning the word no rapidly. And when I say no, he just looks at my husband with those eyes like, are you hearing her? Did you hear what she just said to me? So it's fun watching him grow and learn new things, even though there are some things that I don't want him to learn.
They're so smart though. And, they understand their routine, right? And so they know that different people in their lives perform different, in their head, you know, different functions, right? And you go to this person for this and this person for that and this person for that. And how quickly, like you said, Caleb is one and already knows, like, I can get over on that. You know, this person will say yes for this. This person will say no. And so when you are the person that says no, that's very challenging. And it's difficult sometimes because you're always seen as a bad guy. And sometimes, again, I used to be like, my God, how could you? Why, I'm sick of being the bad guy. Like, can you just be like, go to bed or do something so that I don't have to be all the time the mean one? But they know. What is kind of toll does that take on you though? Because you're saying no to people at work, you're having to keep things going, and you have to have that kind of accountability and set those expectations at work. And then at home, you're sort of doing the same thing. What kind of toll does that take on you?
It gets hard because, you know, you leave here after dealing, like you said, there's so many people split up between the two of us that we have to constantly go back and forth. And then you go home and I personally just feel like my job is never done. So you just wake up and you just start over, and hopefully it's a better day than yesterday.
Well, we learned So What Now What at Super Conference. We had a speaker on there, Dr. Kevin Elko, and he was fabulous. I actually bought a bunch of his books and I'm listening to one now, but he's like, when stuff happens, just the so what, now what? So we'll have to start using that. So when you're the person that's kind of putting the rules in place or enforcing rules or following up on that at home, and then you have to do it at work, it's almost like you have to doubly be that meanie, right? Like, and I don't know a better way to put it other than that. Like, it feels like sometimes, like, can I be like the nice person at work, the pushover, the nice person at work, and then I'll be the heavy at home, or vice versa? Like, it's like not fair sometimes. Okay, right. I got to do this in both places. What the heck?
Right.
How do you deal with that, Ashley?
So I do. I find often that I just want to be someone's favorite somewhere. I want to be the fun one somewhere. But I've learned that if the more time I take for myself, the better I am in both places and the calmer I can remain in both places. So like, I used to talk to my husband on the phone every day on my way home, but then I was walking out of ATI. I was immediately on the phone. He was immediately telling me everything that went wrong in his day. Then I was carrying that load to walk into the house to my son, who's immediately saying, I'm glad you're home because daddy didn't do this, or I need this. And I didn't have any time to let go of what had just happened prior. So now on my way home, I told my husband, like, I'm not going to call you anymore. Like, I'll text you and let you know I'm leaving, so you know where I am. But I need that time to listen to music real loud, or put all the windows down and let all of that energy drain off of me before I can come home, and I'll listen to everything you have to say when I get there. But I just need 10 minutes of my own time. I do the same thing at bedtime, which I think gets to a point where it can be detrimental, because if Travis doesn't go to bed until 10, I'm staying up till 11 because I want that hour of time by myself. But I think that's important for me to release everything from that day in that hour or half an hour before I go to sleep, or I'm going to wake up with all of that continuing the next morning. I also got to a point where I keep a notepad by my bedside table, and because ATI things wake me up throughout the night all the time. And it doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes it's very silly and I have a dream that something crazy happened. But sometimes I have an idea and I'm like, that's a great idea. Why haven't I done that yet? So I keep it by my bed so that I can wake up and write down whatever I remember while I was sleeping. But then it doesn't bother me to go back to sleep because I can come back to it in the morning, versus keeping me awake for an hour because I've got to think through how I'm going to remember this.
I love that. I have a voice recorder for that now, because it just, like you said, in the morning when you wake up, if you did finally fall back to sleep, it's like, I had a brilliant idea last night. What the heck was it? It's like, right. What? I know I said something smart. I know I did, but I can't remember. I just read, I don't know if it was a podcast I listened to or a book I read, but the person would get their ideas in the shower. And so they didn't have anything to write on, in the shower. By the time they got out, like, these brilliant ideas would come. And by the time they got out, they forgot. So they put like a wet they have waterproof paper and
I've
pens
seen
that
that.
they sell, and they actually put that in their shower so that they could jot their notes on there. And I talked to somebody else that was doing it, and they had a glass shower door, and so they were writing on it with like the
Okay.
dry erase marker. And I was like, dang, that's good. That's good. But it seems like such little things, but you have to steal those moments. And I shouldn't say steal the moments. You have to create those moments and stick to them. And those little things have a compound effect. Katie, what are some of the things that you do?
So I still do. I talk to my husband on my way home from work. And that's mainly because one of my
you're
favorite.
married less time than Ashley and her husband, right?
I've been with Mike for 15 years.
Okay.
So
And you still want to talk to him every day going home
I do.
Wow.
I enjoy
Okay.
talking to him. And mainly Caleb's phone voice is really cute. So we also do that. But like I said earlier, Mike puts Caleb to bed. That's usually his bedtime routine. That's their time to spend together. So when they're doing that, I kind of also get to debrief from the day and sit on my couch with a glass of wine and watch, what I want to watch and not Sesame Street. So I do that for about an hour before bed. And every Saturday morning, that is Mike's time as well. So he'll get Caleb up. He'll let me sleep an extra hour. I get to take an extra long shower and not rush through it with a baby in the bathroom with me. So it's just little things, but those little things also add up. So he really does help me a lot.
Oh my gosh, you're giving me a flashback right now, because I think for the first 4 or 5 years of my kids' lives, because they were 2.5 years apart, I don't think I ever completely washed my hair in the shower. I would get pieces of it, maybe clean, and I would dry it and be like, this side would be like, didn't even look like I put soap on, or I'd come out, half of it have, conditioner I didn't rinse out, or shampoo, or I don't know what it is. Why do they have to talk when you're in the shower? I don't understand.
Yep.
This
Every
thing
time
of
you're
just,
alone.
I know, just, oh, it's so good to just take a shower. Like I can feel right now, you like Saturday being like, oh, I get to
Saturday morning is my time to shine.
to just be like, yes, I can thoroughly wash my hair and my body.
Monday through Friday, I'm going to look like a troll, but on Saturday morning, I'm going to look like Beyonce.
That is
just
awesome.
wait for it.
Just wait. That is awesome. That is awesome. So that's important, though, to have that time and to be able to know that it's scheduled, right? So you have a routine, and everybody has a routine, and you have something to look forward to. And I think that's part of the problem that parents face when they're trying to juggle, working with that, is trying to grab a moment here and there instead of saying, listen, I have to take care of myself or I'm not going to be of any use to anyone. But it's hard because then you feel like you're being selfish. How do you deal with that, Ashley, when you need some me time, and then, how do you deal with a thing when they're tugging at you to be like, okay, I need to be selfish right now because I need this for my sanity?
Right. So we do, and it happens most often during super conference. I think of when I feel the most guilty. Throughout the year, I think, I have some reserve time that I'm able to dip into, but super conference really, it's just long hours. And so, I found that leaving the house made me feel less guilty when I really thought that I was going to hate that idea. But even just driving over to the park and taking a few minutes there by myself, where he couldn't tug at me. He couldn't make me feel guilty for being upstairs. Or come busting in the bathroom when I'm taking a shower. So nobody could bother me when I wasn't there to be bothered. And it ended up going much faster because I wasn't a million times saying, this didn't solve anything. Go get your dad. Go get your dad. So really just like I would drive out to Dunkin' and sit at Dunkin' and drink a coffee and then bring home donuts. And I felt like I was giving something back. He knew why I was leaving, but I got 30 minutes by myself to drink my coffee first. And I think that really changed how we functioned in the house throughout the day. We also started every morning, we do affirmations in our house. So while we're getting ready for our day, we're brushing our teeth, and my son, I'll say, come on, let's do your affirmations. And he'll say, I'm smart. And repeating back to him, you are so smart. and you are so kind, and you are going to have a great day. And really saying it with force made me stop feeling so guilty when I wasn't there for every waking moment. Because we also came out of working from home, and I was with him 24/7 and got to watch, 2 years of his life growing up every day, to coming back to the office. And then I'm like, I don't ever get to see him. Yes, daycare is great. You're so smart, but come back to me.
I love that with the affirmations. I love that. That is wonderful. Katie, what things do you do to make you not feel guilty?
I don't think the guilt ever goes away. And everyone warned me about mom guilt. And I was like, I will have it handled. And I do not have it handled. I actually just recently, I went to a bachelorette party last weekend and I cried every day. And the technology is great. I FaceTime my family way too much of just what is he eating now? What is
so the way
on?
You're saying this is that how much you missed it and FaceTime and did all that. The bachelorette party must have been in like France or something, right?
We went to the Poconos. So
okay.
Basically France. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, just
so you
France.
were gone for how many days?
3 days.
And it was your first trip away?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So
boy.
that was a hard one. But any other normal time, trips to Target is usually my go-to.
That's your jam. And there you go.
That's my jam. Or sometimes I'll text Ashley and I'm like, do you want to go thrifting? Do you want to go to TJ Maxx? And we'll just have like a little mom morning. And my other sister, Kelsey, who is also a new mom, she'll come too. And it's just a mom's day out. And then we come home. And I think because we spend time together, you almost feel so recharged that it doesn't give you a chance to make you feel guilty.
That's awesome. It's hard when you look at their little faces sometimes and they're just like, please, I just want.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh gosh. So the struggle is very real about balancing all of this. So how do you find time? We'll start with you again, Ashley, to then have energy to be trying to find time for you, trying to find time for your son. And then you got to try to find time to be a spouse. How do you work that into the equation? Because that's not an easy thing. Sometimes I think the kid part's easier than the spouse part. I don't know, but I'm divorced, so probably shouldn't ask me.
I think I would agree that the spouse part is harder, and I'm still married, so I think that's fair. I think, being intentional with your time together. We've started, not recently, I guess it's been a couple months, but now when, like, if we're going to sit down and watch a movie, both of us leave our phones in the other room. Or if we're going to sit down at dinner, we don't bring our phones to the dinner table. We leave them in the other room, so that our time together is very intentional. And we're really focusing on what the other one's saying. My son loves singing. My husband used to be a karaoke guy. So that's something that we've all have in common. So our family time, my husband loves The Voice or American Idol, or like he wants to judge everybody singing all the time. So those are very intentional shows that we watch together every week. Not when they come on, we have to record them so that we can watch the whole thing. But we record them and then we sit together and watch them on purpose, talking throughout, really spending that quality time. And then I think date nights are so important to really have that connection and know that we're not just parents. We can go out and have a good time, or we can go sit at an empty bar and still giggle because we want to be here together. So I do find it harder to balance, making sure I remember that, he's not just someone that I can say, I had the worst day, leave me alone. I really have to still say, I had the worst day and I'm sorry that you feel yours was worse. Please tell me about that.
I'll see you your worst day and I'll raise you my worst
Right.
both 2 days.
Right.
How about you, Katie?
We also do the phone thing, and that is probably really hard. That also makes me feel guilty when you're at work and you're constantly on your computer and you're answering to everyone else. Sometimes you just want to mindlessly scroll through social media and see what everyone else is doing, or like the TikToks. Like, I get sucked in, and then I realize that the baby is in bed. Mike and I are sitting on our couch together, but separately. So we started like, we got to put our phones down. And Mike and I have been together since we were 17 and we're 32 now. And one of our favorite things to do are watch like the really bad sci-fi movies. Like, yeah, like Sharktopus. Like, yes, that is our thing. Sharknado,
the other
1 through
day,
4.
I was clicking on something for some noise in the background. I was cleaning over the weekend and there was Sharknado on, and apparently there's like 5 or 6 of those things or something.
Yeah.
And the 2 seconds that it caught my eye of the sharks outside the airplane, I just can't even. So
they're so bad, but like, that's like our thing. So we try to do that as much as we can. And we go on a date, and we have our own date night once, at least every 2 weeks. So we'll drop the baby off at my mom's house and we'll go to a bar and sit there for 30 minutes, or we'll go get dinner and, not have to bring snacks with us. So we just, we try to take time for ourselves. And I don't know if this counts, but Ashley and I are very close, and her husband is my brother. So her husband and my husband are also very close. So every Saturday we go over Ashley's house, and we call it Champagne Saturdays. So it's really me and Ashley pop a bottle of champagne to celebrate surviving another week. And we sit there and we put on YouTube for the kids. They have a dance party, and then we go home and go to bed. And I look forward to it every single week.
That is fantastic. It's important to have those things to look forward to, and to create those boundaries and set up those things, because all of the relationships are important. And whether you are the mommy or, doing that role, and there's just, and a lot of people are doing this by themselves, which is just like, holy cow, without any help whatsoever. Right. So, hopefully they have good support systems, and it's wonderful that you have a great support system with each other. That makes things, I would think, a lot easier.
It definitely, all hours of the night, because I've never done this before. And I'm like, Ashley, is this normal? He's doing this. And she's like, totally normal. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep. All right, cool.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And sometimes I think people get overwhelmed and they're like, oh my gosh. And I think people put so much pressure on themselves, and especially women, because there's so many roles, that they're expected to fill. And it's tough sometimes to be a wife and a mom and a, business person and a whatever. And then, look at the grocery shopping and other things, and however you split up duties, and no matter how much support that you have, it's a lot of roles and expectations. And you two look like you're doing such a good job at it. I thought I'd have you on and give people some inspiration. So, everybody has their things, and with the phones and all of that, and the days that you just want to pull your hair out and you're like, holy crap, why did I do this? And, all of that, but you're not alone for sure. And there's a lot of wonderful support groups and podcasts and Facebook groups, and so many things too, because everybody kind of is in the same boat, might have a little bit different things here and there, but you have to be good to yourself first, right? Or else you're not any good to anybody else. So thank you for sharing. So Ashley, any final advice for our listeners?
I think just to remember to take the time for yourself. Remember not to feel the mom shame that is all over the internet. Just let it roll off your back. You are exactly.
Well, you're supposed to be making charcuterie boards while you're, typing your charcuterie boards with your left hand, while your right hand, you're sewing all your kids' costumes or the whatever. And then, teaching them the piano and chess and whatever all else in a day. Right. So I'm sure you're getting all that done, right, Ashley?
Right. I am. Perfect. But I constantly, part of my affirmations is constantly reminding myself that I am the exact mom that my kid needs. I am the exact person in my role that ATI needs at this moment. I am the exact spouse that my husband needs at this moment. And all of these things have chosen me. And I need to just live in that moment, and everything else will get done. I've got it under control.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Katie, final advice for our listeners?
I think the biggest thing is that there is never going to be a better mother for your kid than you. they're always, you can think that you had the worst day. I didn't spend enough time with them. I didn't talk to them enough, but they're going to bed thinking that like they are so lucky to have the family that they have. So, tomorrow always comes. You may have a bad day today, but the morning it's going to be better.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing and for inspiring me and giving me some giggles today for sure. So,
well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Stay safe, make good choices, and stay inspired. And I will see you next week.